The majority of men operate out of a lack mentality, and that's why they block your blessings left and right every single time. And this is really a very practical reason to not have a man in your life, because most of them do really think and operate like this, and they will weigh you down quite literally in order to not let you get ahead. And we see real life examples of this all the time. When I say block your blessings, I mean very practically and very literally. So like all those proposals you see at women's graduations, or the opening of their business, or at the Olympics, or any other important life events. Personal trainers talk about this phenomenon all the time, where men, as soon as their partner gets into really good shape, like the best shape of their life, all of a sudden they start pushing for, I really want to have a baby with you. Men also do this by sabotaging their own or their partner's employment when their partner starts succeeding in the workforce, or out earning them, or they start their own business. Oftentimes, men will either sabotage that, or they'll go the covert route and just sabotage their own employment. That way you are forced to be the breadwinner. There's like no more cushion. So you can no longer afford to take risks with your business, or you have to shut your business down and go back to a 9 to 5. Or maybe you were pursuing a passion that now you have to put on hold because they have sabotaged their own employment. They don't want to see you succeed at anything. They don't even want to give you that little bit of time to get a leg up and move yourself forward in life. And often those same men, after forcing their partner into a provider role, will not in turn provide all of the housework and childcare benefits that women are expected to provide when their man goes outside of the home to work. They often dump childcare on other women in the family, or demand that the child be put in childcare so they can focus on job search, aka playing video games 8 hours out of the day. They don't clean up at home. They don't have dinner ready for you when you come home. None of that. But they would fully expect it if it were the other way around, if they were the ones providing and working outside of the home. And so that's how we know they're doing these things intentionally to sabotage women, because they don't turn around and become a homemaker when their wife goes off to be a provider. They just remain the same useless piece of shit they were. And now they're like doubly dragging their partner down, who is wondering why everything is so hard for her, why she can't seem to get ahead, why she's having such a glow down. She has no time to take care of herself. Her hair's falling out, her skin's breaking out, she's running herself ragged. And all the while, her partner's at home with his feet up playing video games while their kids are in daycare. And she still has to think about groceries, dinner, cleaning, putting the kids to bed, all of that stuff. And you also know at the end of the day too, he's going to be laying in bed waiting for you to touch his dick. Otherwise, he's going to make you feel insecure about that too, and threaten to leave you or cheat on you or destroy your confidence somehow in that way too. They also weaponize this, trust me. These moves are actually intended very much to serve as a roadblock for you women. And men are extremely calculated with this. Do not for 1 second think that they aren't. They know exactly what they're doing when they do this. And of course, oftentimes they wait to reveal their true colors once you are trapped somehow with them. So once you move in, once you get engaged, married, pregnant, etc., then they start showing those true colors. So it's really, really hard to vet for this too. You also need to understand that they operate on a fundamentally different frequency than you. They orient all of their relationships, their entire existence is oriented on a dominant submission hierarchy. This is how they are taught that life works. So everywhere they go, they are looking to see what's the pecking order. And they submit by entering into that pecking order and not disturbing it. Men very rarely disturb that pecking order that they see in their workplace or within their friend group or whatever. They expect you to do the same. But as a woman, you actually see the world in a very different way. You lead with friendliness and cooperation, which is actually a lot more helpful. But it also requires a lot of flexibility and like letting go of control, which is the opposite, once again, of how a man orients to his world. A man's world is very rigid. It's very based in like hierarchies and positions and pecking orders and all of those things, and you're really not supposed to disturb that. Even if it's for the greater good, like, it doesn't matter. If you want to be part of it, you have to be part of it. You have to support the structure that already exists. There's no room for flexibility, there's no room for cooperation. It's a very much know your place until you're ready to dominate the person above you and move a step up. But all of that is very slow and painstaking, and the structure itself remains rigid, right? It's just the pieces get changed out. Whereas women view the world in a completely different way. It's like, yeah, let's cooperate, let's see what happens, let's plant this seed and see what grows here, right? It's not like we're just coming in and like switching things out based on a hierarchy. No, that's not how we're taught to move about the world, right? And women very much are not even expected to participate in this rigid hierarchical structure. Not only do people get mad at women for being like dominant or assertive, they also get mad at women for being too submissive, right? We get blamed for things. If we say we didn't know, or we just believed somebody or whatever, it's like, why were you so stupid? You know, you should have thought for yourself. And it's like, oh, okay, so I cannot exist in this rigid structure then, because that's not what you do here. And so what women are expected to do is to bend over backwards and cooperate with a smile on their face every time, while men are expected to sort of uphold the structure by being aware of the pecking order and submitting and dominating appropriately. That's just how their brain works. And that's called a lack mentality. Like, that is what is going to block your blessings in the long run, because that inflexibility, that rigidity, and that need to control outcomes is exactly what blocks the natural flow and the natural movement of things. It obscures the real goal of existence, which is to do what you love and see what happens. And it turns existence into this hierarchical pecking order structure. And this is why women feel like they're so much better off without men, because men bring this viewpoint and structure everywhere they go, including in their romantic relationships with women. And on the other hand, men are praised and benefited by submitting into these dominance hierarchies, because it also gives them things like bro code, right? Or the ability to fail upwards, because that structure is made for men and it's only really welcoming to men. And when men try to act in a friendly or cooperative manner, that's when they're shamed. So they're not actually shamed for submitting, right? They're not ever shamed for knowing their place. They're shamed for being cooperative and friendly, which does not imply submission. It implies only cooperation, and it implies cooperation on the other side. So whenever men try to cross this line with other men, that's when they're shamed. That's when they're called a pussy, a bitch, whipped, a woman, whatever, right? So they associate these things negatively with women. They associate cooperation and friendliness as an inherently negative thing. And that's why they suck to be in relationships with. Like, that's why you feel drained all the time, because it's always a competition. It's always an arm wrestling match with a man in which he's like, you're not even supposed to be playing this with me. Why are you succeeding? And you're like, I'm not competing with you. I'm just trying to do my own thing. And he's like, no, you are competing with me and you're winning. And so they literally want to trap you and hide you under a bushel, because it makes them feel insecure when they feel like you're breathing down their neck or something, because that's how they view these things. They don't view these things as you are doing this for yourself, or you're doing this because you feel validated within yourself, because you have never been validated within their little structure, right? So you've learned to validate yourself as a woman, and you're like, no, dude, I'm just doing my own thing. Like, I'm just having fun. And he's like, no. And if you keep doing this, then I'm gonna leave and I'm gonna off myself or whatever. Like, they start to just get like really extreme with it, because it threatens them all the more when you deny it and you try to tell them that that's not how you're acting, that's not where you're operating out of. That threatens them more, because it's even more scary to them to try and imagine life outside of this structure, right? They're like, but wait, if I'm not the successful one in this relationship, that means I'm the cooperative and friendly one. That means I'm the pussy, I'm the bitch, I'm the one that stays home and plays with the kids all day. Like, they hate that, right? Because all of these things have been negatively associated with women whom they believe to be inherently weaker and dumber less capable of success than they are. They're certainly not supposed to ever dominate you. And again, women are like, I'm not trying to dominate you, dude. There's no domination going on here, but men just can't see it that way. They project that onto you, and then they start to hate you, and they start to feel jealous of you, and they want what you have. They want to be the one to do it. Even if they have no talent, no skill, no nothing in order to make that happen, they're going to still sabotage you and try to do it themselves. And this is where they start to bring in masculinity and gender roles and submission and leadership and all of those things, is because they want to bamboozle you, right? And romance and marriage and all of these things is one way that they do that. They start to say, oh, you're acting too masculine as a woman. You know, I need to be the leader of this household. I need to feel respected. I need you to tiptoe around me, because they know that that inherently is going to dim your light. It's going to make you insecure, because now you're like, wait, I'm the problem, right? When it's like, no, he's the problem because he's so insecure. A truly secure person does not need to tell other people to respect them, right? It's like, it's not even a thought in their head. If this man really did feel so disrespected, his first thought should be to leave, but he doesn't want to leave. He wants to bring you down a few pegs. That's why he's talking about respect. He's acting like he can coerce it out of you. And he's acting like it's a thing that you can just be told to do. And a lot of men don't get that. They want everything handed to them on a platter, especially by women. Because women, that's what women are supposed to do. They're supposed to literally make your plate. Like, they're supposed to hand things to you on a platter. They're supposed to make it easy for you to have a job, to have children, to be considered a family man without ever knowing a damn thing about your family, to be regarded as this hardworking provider, all of these things, when really single men work too, and they don't get any, extra cookies for it, right? But God forbid a married man goes to work. Well, he's a provider, he's a leader, he's a head of household. It's laughable. It's laughable how insecure they are. And insecurity will block your blessings every time. It will block good things from coming into your life because somebody is jealous of you, and they are actually actively the shield that is blocking your blessings from coming in. Listen to me, please, especially if you're young, early 20s, dreaming about romance. Like, just realize that most men use romance as a tool to control you, not to love you. They are insecure. And that's why they're trying to trap you into these situationships, relationships, whatever, engagements, marriages, children, all of these things, right? That's why Offset said that he won. He won because Cardi B is his baby mama. And it's like, yeah, that's literally how they see life. Winners and losers. Not people that you cooperate with in order to create something beautiful or grow something awesome. No, they view all of their relationships, other men with women, with children, all of their relationships, they view them through a lens of competition and a lens of there's a winner and a loser here, or there's a hierarchy and only the person at the top is the winner. Everybody else is a loser and has to submit up the chain of command. And again, this is why a lot of us have been saying that men invented romance to keep women in their place. Because especially these days, not a whole lot of men are going to come at you with like dominance and control and lead sort of with abuse, because they know that, these days women have their own resources. They can go get a job, they can open a bank account, they can have a license, all of these things. The overt way doesn't really work. And so they have started leaning on sort of this covert way to manipulate and control you under the guise, once again, of romance and wanting to have you all to himself and having babies with you. And, oh, we need a bigger house and we need more stuff. And like, it would be too expensive for you to go to work, because we couldn't afford childcare. So you need to stay home with the kids that I asked you to have, that I don't even know how to take care of. I barely even know their name. So it's like a lot of men will like literally beg you for these things and then act like you drag them to the altar, act like it was your idea to have kids. They'll beg you to get engaged or whatever, and then be like, oh yeah, all of her stupid wedding planning, like, I hate it, like, I don't even know why we're doing this, like, blah, blah, blah. That's why there's that duality, because they want to come across as friendly and cooperative, but really they're just a snake that's been waiting, lying in the grass, waiting to just pounce on you and trap you. They paved the road for you very carefully with all the things that you have been taught to want ever since you were a little girl, right? The sweet love notes, the flower bouquets, the engagement ring, the wedding, the house, all of these things, they lay them out like little traps. Once you've taken the big one, the bushel falls down on top of you and that's it. And he sits on top of the bushel and you're trapped. Like, really and seriously, please consider this. Please. Unless a man is actively invested in your success, okay? He's not invested in romancing you and trapping you, putting you down every chance he gets and telling you that you're not going to need all this stuff once you're having all of his babies and he's providing for you and you don't have to go to work and like whatever. Unless that's something that you genuinely want, which again, funny enough, if you are a woman that wants these things, chances are you're going to come across a lot of men who are going to refuse to give them to you, right? If you lead with, I want marriage, I want children, men will be like, yeah, but I don't know. They start dimming your light right away because they know that's your goal. And as long as you let them be the goalie, right, they're going to keep you from that goal. They're going to be like, yeah, no, I really like you. I'm crazy about you, like blah, blah, blah. I just, my parents were divorced and I'm so insecure about marriage and children. Like, your job as a woman in that situation is to say, okay, then I'm on to the next. Because I'm not going to sit here and wait for you. Because that's my goal. I want a man who also wants marriage, children, white picket fence house. He wants to be a provider, all of that. A lot of men, they get off on wasting your time. They get off on being like, in charge that way, right? They get off on the fact that they can tell you they love you and they're crazy about you and all these things, but also at the same time telling you that they just can't show you that for some reason in the way that you're asking, right? At the same exact time, a lot of really independent, strong, career-minded, career-focused women come across a lot of men who are like, wait, but I want to marry you, but I want to have kids with you, but I want to plan a wedding with you. I want to move out to the country and have a farm. Isn't that funny? Isn't it funny that like the man that claims to love you and be crazy about you and obsessed with you, like he always wants something exactly in the opposite direction of what you want? It's almost like it's a play to strong arm you into doing whatever he wants so that he can feel better about himself, so that he can feel like a big, strong man, so that he can feel like he's in charge and he's dominating and that his opinion matters most. Because the gag is they're all the same men. This is just how they operate. The same man that's going to be telling a career-oriented woman who has goals and dreams and aspirations in life and is like, yeah, I don't want to get married for a while. I want to live apart. He's going to tell her that he's, very marriage and children oriented. He wants to be a provider. Like, he wants a woman to be in her feminine, And then if things don't work out with that woman and the next woman is like, oh, this is perfect. I'm looking for a provider, someone who's just going to let me stay home and have a bunch of kids. Like, I'm really into that. He's going to be like, well, my ex broke my heart. So I just can't. I love you. I'm crazy about you. I definitely see all that in our future, but I'm just not ready yet. And it's going to be the same exact man because he doesn't actually want either of these things. What he wants is to feel dominant and to feel in charge. Okay? And he's going to literally block your blessings because he wants to control you so that he can feel in charge. He wants to place you in a slot, and always be above you. And in your mind, no matter how much it doesn't work like that, it's always going to work like that in his mind. This is true for most men, unless they do a ton of inner work to deconstruct that urge within themselves to play the stupid little hierarchy game. It's hard because they have been very much encouraged and pushed towards that and punished for acting otherwise. The flip side is true for you as a woman. So you have been actually discouraged from finding your place in this hierarchy. We very much exist underneath the patriarchy hierarchy in order to support it. Even when you get to the tippy top of these kinds of hierarchies as a woman, men will stop at nothing to dim your light and to try and take you down a few pegs or kick you out of the system entirely by devaluing your womanhood. The final boss of the patriarchies. You have to be a man. So honestly, ladies, do yourselves a favor and invest in yourself. Because when you get together with a man, he's going to force you to invest in him at your expense. Because that is how the world works in his mind. This is very important for you to understand. This is why we say all men. Because it's not all men until you start being more successful. And you're going to find out which men it's really not. It's going to be the men that don't try to dim your light. It's going to be the men that lift you up. It's going to be the men that encourage you to go for it. It's going to be the men that say, I believe in you and you should do this. How can I help? It's going to be the men that offer to do unpaid labor for you. That's the not all men. It's not just a man who treats you nice or tells you that he loves you. That's really the dangerous part about being with a man. That's really where the danger lies. Because men are allowed to tell you they love you and act like they hate you. Okay? Men are allowed to do that. Women are not allowed to do that. Women are not allowed to tell men that they love them and then act otherwise. Men walk away from those types of situations. It's women that don't. If you are a woman, just realize that first and foremost before you enter into relationships with men. Because this is what you need to watch for signs of. Not somebody being nice to you, not somebody buying you flowers. Do they invest in you as a person, or are they more worried about winning you over, just doing whatever they can think of that's like romantic and grand gestury, flattering to you just long enough until they can trap you, until it's embarrassing for you to leave, until you've bragged about him to all your friends about how nice he is, you know, and now you're gonna look like an idiot that you couldn't tell or that you didn't leave. You should have vetted better and like you fell for his lies. You know, all of that is turned around on you as a woman. Once again, because men are allowed to tell you that they love you and act like they hate you and lie to you and sabotage you. And you'll still be the idiot. Women, you will still be the idiot. Nobody's going to give you any grace because you fell for a man's lies. So you have to watch out for not just his actions towards you. You have to watch, how does he talk about successful women? Does he? Does he even? Does he care that there are successful women? Does he admire successful women? Does he care about your hobbies? Does he try to think of ways that he can help you grow the things that you're passionate about? You know, is he actually investing in you? Or is he investing in this idea of romance in order to trap you and make you invest in him? That's the question, all right? And what's very important for you to remember, ladies, is that the core of this is projection. Okay, the core of this is that most men know in their heart of hearts that if they ever became successful enough to not need you anymore, no longer rely on your silent, unpaid, thankless labor, including mental, physical, emotional, childcare, housework, all of that stuff, the moment that they feel like they no longer need you, they are going to move on to the next. And so that's what they're afraid of. That's why they're trying to stop you. They don't realize that you're doing these things, yes, to better yourself, but also your future plan as a woman is probably to benefit your family with this, to make life easier, to make life more pleasant. And what men think you're doing is you're trying to get one over on them, right? You're trying to get one over on them. And so they're like, no, I'm going to get one over on you. That's what they're projecting. And you're like, oh, okay, I'll contribute and I'll cooperate because that's what I'm trying to do. And you project that onto them. You're like, no, he just really wants to be a provider. And like, he just really doesn't want me going outside of the home. And like, he just wants me to take care of the kids and stay at home and stuff. And it's like, no, he just doesn't want you to outpace him because he thinks that as soon as you do, you're going to leave him for somebody better. Because that's what he would do. And never forget that, because that's what he would do. If a man is really that afraid of you getting ahead, it's because he's projecting that you're going to screw him over as soon as you get ahead. Because that's what he would do to you. Never forget that. Stay safe out there, ladies. I love you so much. Godspeed.